Went through my GF's phone, found out she cheated on me. Long story short in the title. We had quite a bad few weeks behind us. Me M21 and my GF19 have been together since June 2021 and had amazing times together. Beginning this September, our relationship got weaker. She's having a busy school year finishing high school, while I work full-time and study as a private student at university. She had the seniors dance with a guy who I didn't like from the first time I heard about him, but okay, it's none of my business. She is happy, I'm happy then. Their relationship got stronger, made more and more get-togethers with friends, and I found myself in a position where from priority I moved to option. We talked about it, had a few good deep conversations, and everything was fine. We decided to spend a few days apart to let her catch up on herself. During these days she went to that guy's place without talking about it or anything. It was an accident that I saw it while searching for my AirPods and Radar app. I'm not proud, but this evening I went through her phone. I couldn't resist and I wanted to make sure I overthink, and I'm the stupid in the situation. Unfortunately, I saw messages where she said to him that she's missing him after today and she had a great time. In another message she wrote she regrets last Friday, Wednesday, etc. shouldn't have happened. I found messages from which it's obvious they had something, slept together, kissed, anything, and she went to his place more times I didn't know about. I know it wasn't fair looking in her phone, but it turned out to be unfortunately useful and informative. Story 2. My husband left our 2 girls and I 5 days after our newborn was born. I F21 had been married to my husband M32 for 2 years. We share 2 girls, a 20-month-old and a now week-old newborn. Everything seemed fine in our relationship. Just last week we were discussing our future and plans while I stay home for maternity leave. While I was in active labor last week, his father called upset about the new baby since I hid my pregnancy from my in-laws because I had a feeling they did not like me nor our daughter. They only seen her 4 times this year when my husband brought her to them. They never ask about her even just to see how she's doing. She doesn't really even know them. She acts scared when she sees them. After the phone call, my husband was acting differently towards me. I'd exactly what was said. We then had a healthy baby girl. After I got home, I had received a nasty letter from him stepmom telling me they don't consider me a part of their amazing family and that they feel sorry for my babies that didn't ask to be brought into this world to a selfish, stupid, manipulative, controlling evil mom. She hopes God has mercy on my soul because no one can help me now. I was already dealing with mom guilt for both my girls, leading to postpartum depression. This made things worse. My husband was acting cold towards our toddler, yelling at her for no good reason. He hadn't held our newborn since leaving the hospital. I had no help with the girls. I told him I was having really bad postpartum depression, that I noticed our toddler was having a hard time adjusting as well. That I needed him, I just wanted his affection and someone to talk to. He went to bed and just told me he said having 2 would be hard. The next day he didn't say hi to our girls or kiss them goodbye. He came home from work to smoke, then left without saying anything. He stayed out until 2 a.m. even after I called him asking where he was. That I made him dinner and he told me he'd be home. I accused him of cheating. He said he wasn't, came home immediately and went to bed. I told him I needed to talk to him. He told me to leave him alone. After I begged for him to talk, he told me he doesn't love me anymore. I begged for us to at least try couples therapy first. I'll do whatever it takes. I want our family. He said he didn't want to try. He couldn't even give me reasoning to all this, only saying I'm the problem and he doesn't love me. He left the next day. I've noticed it's been affecting our toddler. She hasn't been a night without her daddy. Even though she's a mommy's girl, she loves him. I didn't think she would care since she's so young. This has hurt me more than anything. My baby has always been so happy. I hate seeing her down. She goes to the garage door where he usually hangs out like she's waiting for him. I took her in there and she didn't want to leave. She started screaming and crying. I feel terrible. I want my baby to be happy again. Her father made it clear he will not be seeing them regularly. He's moving closer to his family. An hour away, that we're too far, gas is too expensive for his truck, and that he won't be my babysitter. He told me he will be in their life by calling them to talk to them. He won't agree to a schedule. He will call me on a day he's able to see them, come for a few hours, then leave until next time he's available. I'd give I should allow that. I just don't want to be seen as bitter. I've been tandem feeding to comfort my oldest and having been trying to have one-on-one time. I'd what I can do to help her in this difficult time. I can't beg for her father to be a family again. I already tried that. He made it clear he doesn't want me. He left me financially stuck. I'm on maternity leave without pay and I lended him $600 last week until he got paid. I was going to use that money on my girls and bills. He now told me he doesn't have the money and doesn't know when he'll have it. He'll give it to me within a year. He also left me with the lease which we have 9 months left of. I asked him if he could stay here so I can move closer to my family and job that are 40 minutes away. He said no, he has nothing here, he can't afford it and his credit is already messed up, I should just break the lease and leave. Story 3. Today I found out that the guy who cheats his wife with my friend is the father of a girl I love. I'm in complete shock. I 25F have been seeing this girl 28F for 3 months and we've just clicked in every way possible. I've never shared such a strong connection with anyone before, let alone with a girl, since my serious relationships were with men. I hooked up with a few girls but nothing serious. This one is different. I believe this is the first time I actually truly love someone. My friend 29F casually hooks up with older married guy 59. I don't want to go in too much detail, judge or moralize. What's important for this story is that we know each other. I talked to him on a couple of occasions. He mentioned he has a daughter and although he didn't say much he spoke of her highly. I didn't ask questions and honestly, I didn't even want to know more. My girl told me she's having late lunch with her dad today and asked if I want to join them. I refused, partially because of work and partially because it's too soon for parents meeting yet. But I left work early also. I'm flying out of the city tonight for work and be back next week and said duck it, I'm gonna meet them. Have to squeeze as much time as possible with her before I go. My heart literally skipped a beat when I saw her sitting in one table with the older married guy. Of course she noticed me and of course it was too late to turn around and run away. Next 10 minutes were awful, embarrassing and weird. He played it like we don't know each other and I was so shocked that I wasn't able to do more than just somehow play along. I didn't even order food and said that I just stopped by to see her real quick and had to run back to the office. She sensed something's up. After this fiasco she messaged me if everything's okay. I'm still in shock but reality is kicking in. She obviously doesn't know about her dad's little secret. I know she loves him and they have a good relationship. I cannot break this harsh truth to her. I also cannot lie to her. I don't know if I'm able to act like I know nothing about his affair with my friend. I have no idea what to do. What can I possibly do without hurting anyone? I just know that I don't want to lose her over this. Story 4. I saw my old bully at a wedding and it sent me into a depressive spiral. So yesterday I 23 meters went to one of my work colleagues' weddings. I say work colleague but the guy 24 meters is actually one of my closer friends. I went to school with the girl he married. I never really spoke to her much, despite sharing classes as she was too popular for me, but she's a nice woman, and never gave me a hard time or anything. I'm one of the groomsmen at the wedding so was there early, helping set it all up and stuff. The wedding was a huge fancy one. The girl he married is pretty rich and ceremony was lovely. After the main ceremony even more guests started arriving for the meal, reception and such. When he walked in I did a double take. It's like the whole world stopped for a second and I felt like I was going to have an anxiety attack. This guy tormented me for most of my adolescent life. He was a genuine piece of acid. He put my head in a toilet, flushed my uniform in the toilet after PE, and even hospitalized my best friend. To this day I have no idea how he never got kicked out of school. The worst thing he ever did to me was get my first ever girlfriend to send him nudes and then send them around to everyone. I'm one of the only people who knew he did this as my then GF told me he was who she had cheated with. My parents used to say the usual platitudes. He'll end up in jail, he's gonna go nowhere in life, the best revenge is success, etc. etc. I ended up being a mechanic as I always loved cars, I earned decent money, I had a pretty big glow up, started working out etc. I guess what hurts the most is seeing this guy seems to still be better than me in every way. When he turned up the bride greeted him with a huge hug and cheer, and my close friend, the groom also went over and embraced him. He had a beautiful woman on his arm, had a super expensive jacket over his suit. The guy was an athlete so it's no surprise he looks like a superhero now. He even had a ducking Rolex. Apparently he's a physiotherapist and makes really good money, likely triple what I earn. My friend introduced him to all us groomsmen and this Ashol didn't even recognize me. He shook my hand and said nice to meet you. I was barely holding back tears. Everyone seemed to love him, the bridesmaids went on and ducking on about how hot he was. The other groomsmen were kissing his ass about what great shape he was in. The mother of the bride insisted they move an extra table to our area so him and his GF could sit with us. I stalked his Facebook after and it just ducking burns me so much about how much better than me he is doing in life. He has a beautiful girlfriend, a car that would take me years to save for, a nice apartment in the city, is on holiday multiple times a year. Is there no ducking justice in the world? What happened to karma? I want to die. Story 5. My grandpa killed my grandma. I hate my grandpa. Edit. Car accident. Sorry. I was just venting hard and don't know how to change the title, guys. I'm just sad. He killed my grandma today. But first, some backstory. He and my grandma were married for 50 years. This is because he made sure of such things. He, a prominent Southern Baptist preacher, had several affairs throughout their marriage. The week after their 50th, he left her for a woman who would eventually years later die on his kitchen floor while he gave her compressions. My wonderful grandmother, who was never allowed to be who she was, took this man back. Now he never left the church, just moved states without telling anyone why. Then, came back to his church, who was none the wiser. Side note, I'm agnostic, not that it matters, but it does in the sense I don't want to be connected to the church. They quietly got remarried, get-togethers and holidays continued as though nothing happened. It was ducking weird. Today he took a left turn. She was hit by oncoming traffic. She died, his wrist is broken. I'm angry, no, this does nothing but duck this guy. Story 6. I found out my wife was cheating on me, and she will never know. I 26 meters found out my wife 26F has been sleeping with a colleague of hers for a while now, and I've decided I'm going to do nothing about it. To fill in some background for my decision, my wife and I have 2 children, a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old baby. I adore them. Every day when I come back from work, my 3-year-old gives me a huge smile and shouts in happiness. It's the best part of my day when I return from work. My wife also works, so we both make efforts to spend time with them whenever we can, which did lead to some issues and arguments. We went to counseling and discovered better methods, and I really thought we were doing well. I even managed to get some of my hours shortened to spend more time with them. It turns out we weren't. I noticed a pair of shoes and a jacket I've never seen before. I asked her about it and she brushed it off that it could have been the babysitter's and that she will return them. 2 days after, I got home early to surprise my wife and go to the park with the kids, and noticed my wife and her colleague I've seen him before at her work kissing outside the house, and he was wearing the same attire I saw. This pretty much confirmed it, and I ended up staying at a hotel for 2 days to cool off from the shock and dread of it all, and told my wife it was an urgent business trip. Now, I decided I'm going to do nothing for 2 reasons, and they are pretty much connected. I came from a family that was plagued with infidelity and broken into shreds. My father cheated on my mother when I was in high school, and it was the worst thing that ever happened to me in my life. I watched 2 people I loved and knew so well fall into depression. My father became an alcoholic and disappeared from our lives 4 months after, and I have no idea where he is to this day. My mother became emotionally traumatized, and during her last couple of months she did begin to improve until she passed away from COVID. In high school I spiraled and fell into heavy depression and drug abuse. Before college, my wife, who was my GF at the time, helped me get clean, and she knows about all this, which makes it all the more painful. The point is, the family I grew up with, made memories with, and spent all this time with was shattered because my dad cheated. I would have loved that they would grow old together and I'd let them play with their grandchildren. Is gone because of infidelity. The second is connected because I don't want my children to see a split. I know it won't end pretty even if I wanted it to. They are so happy, and despite her being unfaithful, she is a good mother to them. They adore us together, and I don't want to rob them of a family and all the ducked up poop that comes up with divorce and infidelity. And honestly, there's a third. I'm terrified of being alone as well. I have no one, all family gone. She would be gone. We could get shared custody, but it still makes it all the more terrifying. And maybe I could confront her and work it out, but I just know she will break and it will never be the same as how things are now. So it's been a week and a half. I just put my children to sleep a bit ago, and my wife is already in bed as I'm typing this, and I've already decided she will never know I know. Unless she tells me, then I'll need to decide what to do if that happens. I will stop this if it starts affecting the children in any way as well. But to answer some of the questions, yes, I am in complete pain. I am trying my best not to hate her, but holy duck, it's hard. I don't think I can sleep beside this person without my eyes darting around the room for 2 hours from thinking before I sleep from intense dizziness. But I'm going to do it, and maybe it'll hurt less as time goes on, and yes, my therapist already knows, and yes, they are very against the idea, but I told them to try to work with it. I'm doing this for my children's future, for my own as well. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1. If she's cheating, you also have to consider the fact that she may want to end on her own and move on without you and try to take full custody, and that would be even more painful. Talk to her. Tell her you know. Keeping secrets creates more lies and bigger hurts. Redditor follow-up. I'll also point out, to add to this, that the person who prepares for the divorce in advance usually gets a more favorable outcome. At the very least, even if you do decide to stay together, talk to a divorce attorney so you know what happens if she decides to leave. Redditor 2, my father tried doing this for 4 years when he discovered my mom had an affair. My mother had a daughter with her affair partner, and even after bringing him around the family, my dad went along with her charade, mainly driven by religious nonsense. It blew up spectacularly when I was around 6 years old and figuring out what was happening. The fallout destroyed my family. My advice: discuss this with her, because it will eventually come to a head. 99% of the time, it does. Even discussing this with my therapist, she has not run into a situation with a single one of her clients where they were cheating and the affair wasn't brought to light in some way. You are not doing your children a favor based on my experience. You are only delaying an inevitable explosion of emotions and ripping apart of a family unit. It's still one of my dad's biggest regrets, as after that, we were split into factions, all vying attention and affection from each side, and never getting it from them. My parents battled it out like it was a ducking sport and we were collateral. He wished that he'd just confronted her and ended it, moving away and gradually work on getting custody of us one by one, which is exactly what happened anyways, just after the death of 2 of my brothers, one of them a direct result of the overwhelming stress from this bullshit. Redditor 3, you're doing your children no favors. Based on personal experience of my own parents' divorce due to my father's infidelity, the younger the child, the more adaptable, less trauma to change. My older teenage sisters had way more issues than me and my younger brothers 7 and 4. Redditor 4, your reasoning is unhealthy and based entirely on fear of what the future holds. I know that fear well, though my reasons for it are vastly different. This all sounds pretty fresh for you. Reevaluate in a month or 2. Because living a lie is not sustainable. Secretly hating someone is not sustainable. My father cheated on my mom when I was 11, they kept it a secret. Mom took a lot of it out on me. I spent the next 3 years thinking she went bonkers because of her mood changes. Eventually she evened out emotionally and we became close again. My parents still acted all lovey-dovey and had date nights. Then she told me she was leaving Dad and finally told me what happened. I was 25 at the time, and since they seemed so much in love I was surprised and shattered. Built up this image of a happy family in my head. Especially of my dad, who was my hero. That messed me right up. Still does. I don't drink or do drugs. But it sure did mess me up in other ways. Infidelity is messy for the family involved, as you are well aware. But honestly, I wish my parents had divorced back then. Redditor 5, get an STD test, friend. Also, not that it makes a difference, but a DNA test is also recommended. She's 6 months postpartum and sleeping around? It took me longer to feel comfortable being intimate after giving birth. Take care of yourself and be open to your therapist's suggestions. Redditor follow up, yeah, it's the first thing I thought. Horrible to think, but baby number 2 might not be yours. Frowning face, and definitely check for STDs. What if he's not being faithful with your wife and she might also have more partners? It's really horrid to say, but you should check yourself out.